Yeah, we wanted to create a content company, a media that we would want to consume as active real estate agents. Byron being one, running the #1 team in Connecticut. But I always, as a real estate agent, I felt so fractured in terms of where I was consuming content. If I was going on Inman News, it's behind a paywall. If I'm going on Housing Wire, it's behind a paywall. If I'm getting on Real Deal, I'm getting a bunch of kind of celebrity slop on top of real estate news and gossip, and each their own in terms of what media you want to consume. But I wanted something that really sifted through the bullshit of the industry.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, I'm Matt Pinelli, joined by my great friend, Garrett Fry. And today we have a special guest returning to the podcast. He was on with us last year. We have Eric Simon, aka The Broke Agent, the founder of Broke Agent Media, a media company that is transforming the real estate landscape, how real estate agents consume media, and how they also analyze different things going on in content and marketing. Eric, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Great to be back. One of the more enjoyable interviews I've ever had in this industry. So the second Matt emailed me and said, Garrett and I want to talk to you again, I said, let's do it. By the way, not Broke Agent Media anymore. Just BAM Media.
Just BAM.
Broke Agent has been dropped from the title because we found that agents don't want to share a website that says brokeagentmedia.com.
Fair enough.
I appreciate the more enjoyable podcast you've been on. We've set the bar high. This is good. So we just have to keep it rolling, right?
Exactly. Yes. Right. I have full confidence in you and myself. And Matt.
It's funny. My wife said today, I was like, oh yeah, we got Eric coming back on the show. And he's like, he's not broke anymore, is he? And I was like, no, I don't think so.
Well, I did move apartments. I finally have a studio behind me. So now I'm ready to go when it comes to podcasting and content.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yep.
Well, we're excited to have you back on. And I think one of the topics we can probably just dive into off the bat, because you have extensive experience because you watch content, particularly social media, so much. And last time we talked about the mixture of social media, email, and all that kind of stuff. But since then, there's been this kind of accelerated rise of the real estate influencer, these trending TikToks and reels that are out there, these accounts that are getting hundreds of thousands of followers, in some cases, millions of views. Even I saw one account getting headlines in major news sources too.
BuzzFeed.
And so I'd love to dive into this route and talk about the difference or the rise of this real estate influencer versus the actual real estate agents preparing content out there. So if we want to just hop into that and tell us what you're seeing out there.
I think that 2021 to 2022, kind of mid-pandemic through 2022, was the golden age of real estate content creation. I think that's when everybody realized that you had to make this shift to social first, when you still had some agents kind of lagging behind, but because everybody was on their phones and because the TikTokification of algorithms, of Instagram, of YouTube Shorts, of TikTok itself was happening, that everybody kind of jumped on these platforms. And that kind of coincided with the rise of BAM and podcasting and all of these people understanding that you should be creating your own media company as a real estate agent, because ultimately you do want to become a media company that happens to sell real estate, at least through the social media lens. Because if you look like your content is media and it's not salesy real estate content, it will perform better in today's algorithm. Then I think the lines did kind of get blurred, where you see a lot of Instagram real estate influencers that have found a specific route of content creation that a lot of other agents are now trying to emulate that may not have that existing skill set. So if we're referencing, I think you were referring to Tampa Bree. And excuse me for not knowing her first and last name. I actually DM'd her recently because I want to have her on the walkthrough episode, but she's getting millions of views. She's over probably 250,000 followers at this point for doing that sarcastic style, kind of insult the house, throw self-deprecating jokes in, and getting some of the most insane engagement I've ever seen in the real estate space, if not the best engagement I've ever seen. And then you start seeing kind of copycats, right? I don't know if she's the original. There's also realtor Caitlin out in Utah who is doing this, where she kind of crouches below the listing and whispers into the mic and has a very funny, dry sense of humor as well. So I feel like they're the leaders in that. And then you see all of these kind of quick tours, right? The speed tours where they're slapping the toilets, they're jumping around. And I don't know if these are their actual listings or not, but it certainly is entertaining and is capturing kind of the Gen Z eye, which is their demographic that they're going for, right? It's a younger demographic. But then you see a lot of agents trying to replicate these styles that don't have that in their personality. And I think that is when you feel the blowback, or you get the eye rolls, or you see the real estate space and think, maybe this isn't the direction it should be going in, just because you see so many copycat. For them who are crushing it, by all means, I would be a major hypocrite for me to say, don't double down on what's working for you. I built the Broke Agent based off of memes and humor. So I am in no way telling people to stop doing this, but I see a lot of agents just trying to replicate something that necessarily wasn't their original idea. And you can kind of feel it in the content that, this isn't that person, but they just saw that this kind of style worked, and now they want to start doing that as well.
It can get cringy pretty quick when all of a sudden you're watching something, you're like, this is not you. And I think that, what led Matt and I down to saying we need to have you back on was we were starting to watch of like, okay, what are they trying to emulate? Are they trying to emulate somebody who is building an amazing real estate business and selling a ton of real estate? Or are they trying to emulate what they think is a realtor who's selling a lot of real estate, but they're actually copying somebody who's collecting tons of views and building a influencer platform? And it can be really confusing. The amount of agents I've had reach out to me going, is this what I'm supposed to be doing now? Like, should I be trying to do this kind of stuff? Because I feel uncomfortable with this. And I'm like, wait. What are we really trying to do here? And I think that you have this great insight into like, what are they really trying to do? Are they trying to be an influencer, or are they really trying to sell a lot of real estate? Because some of these most popular ones are not selling a lot of real estate.
I think they're trying to figure it out. I mean, just as I was when I was coming up, right? I was trying to figure out, do I parlay the Broke Agent brand into actually selling a ton of real estate, or do I build a media company out of it? And now there's so many different routes for agents to go, where you could join a real brokerage or an EXP or one of these other brokerages that do have downlines where your agent to agent influence actually really does matter. So when you are creating content that is getting hundreds of thousands of views, even if it's just from other real estate agents, not that the ones I mentioned they're getting a lot from consumers for sure, but then your incentive of creating content kind of changes. Because it's like, well, I get 100,000 views when I do agent to agent content. I'm building a downline. My network is agents. I get to sell less houses because my downline is building. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing that, right? Like, we've seen a lot of this kind of happen in the real estate ecosystem. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it does, you kind of have to eventually pick a lane, right? Like, are you selling a ton of real estate, or are you becoming a real estate influencer that you may get a couple brand deals that will eventually probably tarnish your brand, because you end up doing brand deals for a bunch of real estate tech companies and then realize quickly that this doesn't convert really that much for the brand necessarily, or maybe it does, but it could be confusing as it was for me and a lot of these people coming up, because it's intoxicating to get the virality and the views and the clicks, but what are you doing with that audience? Are you converting it to emails? Are you converting it to YouTube subscribers? Are you actually building a database out of it? The best ones are, for sure, and know how to use the virality to do it. And I think others are also figuring that out. I don't know if that answer really said anything. I think it just kind of like moved around a little bit, but I'm also working this out in my head as to if this is good.
Well, what I got interested about was the brand deals, because I think that can happen really quick, where all of a sudden you're building this incredible empire. You got all these views, you got all this, this viewership. And then all of a sudden you get into this space where you can get a brand deal. Somebody wants to bring you in, and it can sometimes be like, almost like that's almost like the close of what you've been building. Cause like, it all of a sudden package you into like, well, I'm connected to this company. I'm doing this thing now. I'm over here. And I don't think that's like the takeoff point to the next level. That could actually be like, I'm like, this is my end point here with all this stuff. So I think that there's so many different strategies and what people are really trying to build and where they're going. I'm not saying this is the answer, but like the Hawk Tuah girl, let's just use that as an example. Flash in the pan showed up, huge. Everybody like saw this happen, and then it's like disappearing, riding off in the sunset right now after a whole bunch of brand deals. It's like, okay, that's done.
Yeah. Well, she also had a crypto scam in there as well. So
that didn't help. That didn't help.
Riding off into the sunset. But I'll give you an example. There's a guy named Chris Benjamin. He's a BAM creator. Mm-hmm. Viral content for both consumers and agents. Has done a couple brand deals with Zillow Showcase. Completely knocks it out of the park because it's organically built into his business. So any brand deal that he does, he's working that product in very naturally to his content, where it's not like, hey, check out Zillow Showcase to get more views on your listing. It's a comedy video followed by, these are the systems, this is my tech stack that I have in my real estate business. Pulls it off phenomenally, has not tarnished his brand at all. In fact, has boosted his brand because now people see that he's working with brands and that he's wrapping it in such an organic, fun way that more brands are going to want to work with him.
Interesting.
And I think a bunch of real estate tech companies will smarten up and start using more real estate influencers, because doing it through a media company like BAM is a great idea. But if you're going to Inman and slapping a banner ad on a website or on an email, like these traditional forms of marketing are not how people click anymore. No one clicks a banner ad on an email. No one clicks a banner ad on a website. People know a sponsored blog when they see it. But if they see an agent saying, hey, this is what I use in my system, like a Chris, that's the best endorsement you could possibly get, because it comes across as so natural.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think we're definitely going to see more and more of that. And on the influencer side, when agents look at that, I think there's an opportunity for these agent influencers to become an element in the whole media space because it comes down to, well, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to build our business with all these different connections and different revenue streams, or do we want to sell houses? And one question that's come up with agents that we work with, they'll say, well, do these viral videos actually sell those homes? And it's a question mark, because ultimately we don't know. When you go look at some of the influencers, they say it's not listed by me, it's listed by so-and-so. Is it helping drive traffic to those agents, which then can lead to selling that home? That is a potential opportunity there. And I was even having a conversation with someone the other day saying, I could see whether, depending on how the brokerage model shifts over the next few years as well, where either you have brokerages or teams where there is a staff influencer, so to speak, or a contracted influencer who's the person that's going to go and do all the media, be the front man for this stuff, but they're not actually an active agent doing the showings, doing the consultations, because they can go play in that world and spend their time in it, because these videos that are going out that are viral, like, whether you like them or you don't, those don't take a small amount of time to create either, right? I mean, Eric, even with Chris, with what he's doing, he's got fantastic stuff out there, and that takes time and effort to put these videos together, where if you're a busy agent, like, becoming an influencer probably is one of the last things on your list.
Yeah.
So, how do you see like those roles playing out? And for the agents that aren't really, that are looking at that saying, should I do that? How do you respond to them?
Well, I'll start by saying, if you're an influencer, you're building this audience very rapidly, you don't want to rush to monetization either. You really have to build trust in the audience. Like, I built the Broke Agent for 10 years before really monetizing it, right? Like, I'm on my 10 plus years right now with BAM. But for 7 years, I didn't run any ads. I mean, occasionally I would have an Instagram story to a boomtown or work it in a podcast, but I always did it very organically. And that's because I knew if I said, hey, I got 50,000 followers now, I want to start shouting out a bunch of brands, it would just water down each brand deal that I did, and then also just turn off my audience where they're thinking, all right, the guy built a real estate agent audience and now he's selling to us, of course, right? Yeah. Or if someone, I have a post actually later today coming out about this, they call it the cycle, where a real estate agent tries to sell houses, then they have one viral video, then they get invited to speak on a social media panel, then they become an insufferable egomaniac, and then they try to monetize their audience with courses and trainings and downline stuff, and then that audience gets watered down, and then they go back into selling real estate, right? It's kind of like this thing of, okay, I'm reaching this peak now, and then now it's like, oh, you know what? There's only 1.5 million realtors. This audience actually isn't that big, and I'm not providing that much value. So then now I actually have to end up selling real estate again. What was the initial question? That was not the
value component is key right there, right? Yes. I mean, okay. and that is a really core element of like, well, where do I want to deploy value? Because well, I kind of asked two questions in one, which was probably not the best way to do it.
No, it was good. I didn't answer them. That was on me.
Like, well, the rise of the influencer, like, I think there's a role there. I mean, do you see teams deploying just influencer, dedicated people who are part of the media team. Almost, I wouldn't call them actors necessarily, but in a way, that could be an element of building out a real estate team in the future.
Yeah, or just the influencer is an agent on the team that's just really good at content. I think that should absolutely be a strategy, because what these influencers are doing is they're getting insane brand awareness, which whether it translates directly to deals, like, can you say, did that post that got 200,000 views, translate to a transaction in the comments right there? Or did she get a DM that said, hey, I need you to list my house right now? Probably not right now, right? Because that's not how it works. But because people keep seeing her in the feed, or keep seeing these influencers in the feed, that's top of mind brand awareness, right? Like, the broke agent does not really translate to closings or translate to conversions necessarily, unless I'm pushing a webinar or an ebook or a guide or something like that. But what it keeps doing is more and more brand awareness, right? So it's expanding the umbrella of the audience, where then I could eventually say, hey, I want to collect your email by doing this webinar or Zoom. But for these influencers, it's also important to know that you kind of have a half-life, or a time period, where whatever, I don't even want to call it a gimmick, but whatever thing that you're doing in that moment, like a year from now, probably won't be as popular as it is right now. And I've experienced this a million different times, whether I'm hitting on a specific post style or a specific meme or a different audio that you're using, or even me. Like, I feel exhaustion with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. You have to constantly be rotating and evolving out of it. Perfect example is my good friend Brooks Landry. He had something called Be a Realtor. Did you guys ever see that series?
No.
Okay. He had a Be a Realtor series. It would basically be like,
yeah, I saw that, where it's like, you come up with something kind of like weird and say, be a realtor, right?
Exactly. Like, you have one viral video and now you think you're a social media coach, be a realtor, something along those lines. And he crushed those videos for 2 or 3 months or even longer. But then eventually you can't have that same video over and over and over again. And he, of course, is a versatile content creator and got out of that. But I think these people will also need to figure out, okay, what is the next big thing? How do I build an email list on top of this? How do I still provide value? Just like Matt Leonetti, for example, it was all humor content. And then he evolved into amazing storytelling listing videos with the audience that he built. Because if you just do one thing over and over and over again, even if you're amazing at that thing, I think the audience just naturally starts to get used to it and eventually tunes out.
I think this goes back to finding what your own story is, and you got to be authentic with what you're doing. And we were talking earlier about like grabbing somebody else's thing that they did and go like, well, I'll just do that. I'll copy this self-deprecating like video of this house, and it immediately becomes inauthentic. And immediately you can tell it from a mile away that it's cringy and strange. But that other side of it that you just said, of you constantly need to be evolving, and the people that are kind of leading the trends with that type of stuff are the ones that are going to thrive with this type of content and moving, because you can't stay stagnant. It gets old quick. It's like, yep, saw that, seen that before, been done, moving along.
So it's just like any setting too, and I've talked about this for years. If every clip was me in front of this podcast mic, you would naturally tune out, just because you recognize the setting and you kind of know what I'm going to say. Like, you know my marketing talking points. If every video is the same setting or the same flow, you do eventually just start to say, I've seen this before and I kind of want to see something else. That's just naturally how humans are. That's especially in the social media world, where trends last 24 or 48 hours, where it's just like, I have seen this. I don't want to watch this video again. I see all the engagement. This is probably a bunch of new people that are seeing this for the first time. And I'm not even talking about anything specific. I'm just saying, in general, when you see something over and over again, you're just going to tune out of it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so then for the agents that are out there looking at this stuff saying, oh, do I have to hop on these things? Because finding trends is hard. And there are going to be some agents that are exceptional at it, right? Chris is a great example. But not everybody's going to be like him, right? And so for the agents that are looking for, okay, how do I understand this stuff so I can, do the things that work? what do they need? I mean, you guys provide incredible education through even just the articles that you guys post on BAM, and you have a school community where people can learn even more. You have courses and things, but even on your YouTube channel, I saw you posted something. I don't know when it was because I saw the headline, watched it. It was about an agent who was using this strategy to get 10 listings, and the strategy worked. And I look at that compared to what people say they need to do of like, oh, I need to go viral so I can get all the listings. Whereas this simple strategy can get you 10 over the course of a year, which is fantastic. And so how would an agent consuming all these different media, what do they need to look for as cues to understand, is this an ice bucket challenge type thing that I'm experiencing here and I'm got maybe a one and done if I copy it versus, hey, this is something that I may want to grab a hold of and lean into?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. So we just had Shannon Mangan on our YouTube channel. I don't know if you've interviewed her. If not, you should. She's great. She's a real brokerage agent out in Austin. She has been creating YouTube content for 3+ years and was basically struggling for 2.5 of those, where no videos were getting views, not getting any leads, was basically trying to do what other agents were doing. Then she thought to herself, what is it that I like? I like new construction. I like these specific neighborhoods, and went super deep on specific neighborhoods. So instead of being an Austin agent that creates a neighborhood review just once, she would take a new construction neighborhood and do 5 or 6 videos on that. So that way, anytime someone types in that neighborhood, she's the agent that's popping up for that, not just one person that has a bunch of different videos, but it's like she goes deeper. She talks about the builder. She talks about the pros and cons. And these videos are getting 200 views, right? She has 600 subscribers, not a lot. That's great. But she's actually getting a ton of business from this. So she's already done 10 transactions in the first half of this year by just diving deep on new construction and focusing on neighborhoods that are within like 5-mile radius of her house. She said, I want to do less business by driving 30, 40 minutes away. I want to focus on neighborhoods I know. I want to focus on new construction, because if there's going to be 500 new homes or new places people can move in, that's 500 potential clients. So she's very strategic about it, but she's not getting the virality because she's getting 200 or 300 views. But out of those 200 or 300 views, watching that long form video, she's actually booking listing appointments and racking up buyers from it. So that's an amazing strategy. You really got to figure out why you're doing it. Like there's people that build hyper local channels that aren't necessarily going completely viral with other agents, but are crushing it with less amount of views. And to them, that's kind of the goal, right?
Yeah.
There's different incentives for different people. If some people like the virality of it and they get excited with the likes and the comments and that's their motivation, great. But most agents should be doing it, I would think, to sell a bunch of real estate.
And that's what I think is so I was going to say, define what's working. So Matt, you said like what's working. And I was like, well, like what is the final outcome we're trying to achieve? Because like Shannon's example here, like, well, she's only getting 200 views. And there's a lot of people out there that would be just in the dumps going, I only got 200 views on these videos. Like they're flops. They're not making an impact out there. But when you start talking about the business that she's creating and the appointments that she's creating, it's like, who cares about the views? Like that's
think about how much less work that is. She's putting out a video a week. She's already done 10 transactions, 250K plus in GCI from this by just diving deep on neighborhoods that she knows about, talking about new construction, as opposed to someone that's trying to be like a jack of all trades. But there is one trend, because I know you asked us the second part of your question, Matt, of what is working, like what is a trend, I guess, that is working, or a trend that every agent should follow. And it's not some sort of ice bucket challenge or anything along those lines or a specific audio. It's hyper local content. That is the trend right now. And it's not even a trend at this point. That's what works. If you want the ultimate hack for your Instagram, for your YouTube, and your real estate agent, it's start producing hyper local content, covering the news, covering entertainment, covering your favorite coffee shops and developments and sports teams, and basically being a media outlet for your local market, because that's what actually goes viral in your market. That's what actually hits consumers, and that's what actually gets shares. So instead of focusing so hard on, and I'm saying include your listing videos and everything in there as well, but right. Any agent that switches that note to I'm producing hyperlocal content, I'm invoking my opinions on what's going on in the market in Tucson, Arizona, for example, that's when that unlock hits and they're like, holy shit, like now my engagement is picking up because I'm not just pumping out templates or saying these are 3 reasons why you should work with me as a realtor, doing like stuff from 2018.
So if you get
what I like about that too, sorry, Garrett, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you get hyper local, if you're focusing on that type of stuff, which I've always said, like, love where you live, like dive deep into where you live, what you're about. We're selling a lifestyle. A lot of times when people buy a home, they're in those kids' worlds that they have the hobbies that they have. Like, that is what this area supports. Are you saying be hyper local on lots of different subjects for that area? Or would you say be hyper focused maybe into the ones that really light you up? Because I could see getting like trying to go like, well, what do I focus on? Where do I go? Would you direct somebody to say like, well, what is it that lights you up first and dive into that? Or I hope that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. And that's 100% the strategy that you should do, because your passion's going to come out in the content. If I am not passionate about some new law or some political thing that's happening in Tucson, it's going to show through the content. If I'm passionate about U of A basketball, which I am, and I'm talking about their upcoming schedule or my 3 favorite bars to watch U of A basketball in, or what traffic route I like to take to get to McHale Center 30 minutes earlier before somebody else, these are helpful, passionate things where people could see I actually enjoy talking about the topic. A smile would probably come across my face if I'm doing it. You see a lot of hostage videos too, where people are saying, oh, I got to do a green screen video because I saw this and Eric said to do green screen videos. But you can see it in their eyes. If it's not a topic that you don't like, don't do it, right? But you could also teach yourself to learn a little bit. Like with ChatGPT now, it's so easy too to just take an article and say, write me a script that's 30 seconds, give me a powerful hook. I want to do some B-roll and a powerful CTA at the end. It pumps it out for you. So you can become a content machine with this sort of stuff as well. It's really about testing and seeing what works.
Yeah, and I definitely want to touch on the AI thing too. I don't want to leave hyperlocal because there is so many elements that work with this too. Because as an agent, like not only is it getting your exposure through the media channels, but it's also the conversations that you get to engage in. And if you're producing hyperlocal content, it's encouraging yourself to meet the business owners, to meet the people who are in your community. So behind the media, even if it doesn't get the views and the shares that you want, you're having conversations with people and offering to give them exposure. So you're developing these strong relationships where you're showing people in person that you care as well, which is huge. And then the benefit is while you're there, you get to do some content, you get to put it out there, and you're going to see results. And so I agree. I don't think it's a trend. I think it's something that agents should lean into because it's been easier than ever before. It started with blogs, right? I mean, before we got into social media, Eric, it was the local blog of here's the things that are happening. I gave a talk yesterday and I used ChatGPT saying, hey, what are the most recent restaurants that have opened up in the last 6 months, and design for me a end of summer, week by week dating plan, like a date night plan. And it came up with that. And I said, now write that in for 3 different demographics: young couples, couples with children, and empty nesters. And it did that. And you can then go post that. You can create content around it. So hyperlocal for sure is without a doubt the way to go, Eric. And so
I want to stay on that note real quick, just to show how much this works. So I have an agent named Gregory Pekarsky, who's a BAMX member, and we do consulting in BAMX as well. So I was looking at his profile. There was no hyperlocal content. It was all listings. It was all not salesy, but it was listings, you know, the occasional market updates or what's happening with his team. But there was nothing about Chicago, which is just one of the most prime places, especially in summer, to do hyperlocal content. Most of his videos were getting 1,500 views, some 600, 700. A new restaurant opened up on the 606 Park. I don't know what that is, but it's some new development. He did a video that just said new burger spot opening outside of the 606. That was the text-based hook. And then it's him walking to it with his wife. He calls it the lunch getaway. And then B-roll of the actual burger spot, and then a little bit about the area. 65,000 views, and it has over 2,500 shares. This is by far his best performing video. And he was resistant to this at first, right? He's like, dude, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a food guy. I'm not like, well, he's a food guy, but he's like, I don't want to do this.
He likes
sort of
food,
stuff.
but he's not like a food
Yeah, he's not like a food
of...
blogger. Exactly. And he was so excited because he's like, oh my God, this is the unlock. And then it started happening more and more to his videos because he's developing that audience, and all the shares are people saying, hey, this is a new burger spot. We got to try this. This is a new burger spot. This looks amazing. Or I can't believe there's a new development here. We should go here for lunch. Like, how much more valuable is that content than trying to hit a buyer or seller in that 5-year window that they're interested, or 5-month period or whatever it is, to try to educate them on the real estate market? Again, not to say you shouldn't do that sort of content, but the shareability of the hyperlocal stuff, which is all that matters in terms of what metric to look at, is far superior to anything else.
Yeah.
Eric, I'm happy you brought up AI here. I want to go that way if we're okay with that. Because I'm finding there's some people that are truly leaning into it, and there's some people that are going like, oh, I'm just going to like let everybody else do that and I'll figure it out later on, which I think don't do that. I think it's interesting is that I've had a couple people like trying to be localized in their market, and they're like, well, where do I start and what do I do? And I'll just say, tell me something you love about your area. Tell me something you love doing with your family. Tell me something. And I'm like, great, now just do that again, but hit record. Just start talking about it and share all about what you like about, all the restaurants in your town, or all the hiking trails or the mountain biking trails or the fishing or whatever it might be. And then do what you just said and say, hey, turn this into a 30-second clip for me, or whatever it might be, or a dialogue, and what kind of B-roll should I grab? I mean, you could even put in your local area and say, I live in Redding, California, and where should I go shoot B-roll to capture what this is? It's amazing the tools that are out there then to help you go and be, great with your social media platform. So I'd love to know more about what you're seeing with that.
Yeah, I mean, for agents, you could unlock so many more video scripts. There's just no excuse at this point now in terms of how do I pump out a ton of videos. You do exactly what you just said. You say, write me 5 video scripts about hyperlocal content. I want to cover coffee shops, hiking spots, new restaurants that are opening up, new developments, and end of summer bucket list. So second half of July, what to do here in Redding, California. And it's going to pump out 5 scripts for you, and then now you could go film those. I need to get better with AI, frankly. Like, I am behind the ball because I'm just publishing so much content. I'm using it strictly right now to help me write blogs, edit blogs, come up with better email subjects, better YouTube titles. Anytime we're publishing anything on YouTube now, I take the title that I want, and then I say, give me 10 other titles that could get more clicks than this. And then I'm just constantly kind of plugging and playing around with that. So in terms of brainstorming and cold start, ChatGPT is the best possible place to go for that. And it's fun too for creating images. Like, I see the evolution of the Broke Agent brand going to cartoons and animation, kind of where I initially wanted to start with it in like 2017 with that book behind me, right? There kind of building out these characters in this universe. So I don't know. I could give you some cliche answer that agents say, you won't be replaced by AI, but you'll replaced by agents that use AI. That's the new thing that everybody is saying. And it's just kind of I don't know. I'm sick of hearing that because that doesn't do anything for me when people say that. But just like anything, whether it's Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube, whatever, you have to use it to then feel comfortable with it to get to a place to where you want to keep using it.
I think it's
now there's that scary. It's scary.
It's interesting that you said, like, I'm behind with AI. And I think that that's an interesting thing, that anybody that actually thinks they have it figured out and are actually like up to speed with it, they're not. Like, nobody should say, I've got it figured out and I'm a master of it right now, because as of tomorrow, you're not. It's changing so fast and growing so quickly. So I love that you're like, I need to spend more time with it, because I know Matt and I, we've been pouring ourselves into trying to figure out how to use it better, how to create better content, how to influence and help more people. And every single time I turn around, I'm like, and never thought of using it that way. Like, that's a whole different. So yeah, you just got to get in there and use it. So
even just asking it, writing out the 5 or 6 problems in your real estate business or your content creation, saying, into ChatGPT, saying, I have these 5 problems. Here's what I'm good at. Here's what I'm bad at. How can you help me the best? So you could kind of start there, and then ChatGPT will guide you by, asking follow-up questions.
That's a great point. Hopefully my connection is still doing okay. We have a crazy thunderstorm going on right now, which is good. Lovely at the time of podcasting. Yeah. But Eric, so I appreciate this is really all good stuff. So for agents though who are listening to all this and going, gosh, that's a lot. I'm a solo agent. I get when you get here and there, maybe I can make time for this. like you said with AI, using it is what gets you better. So how do agents start to fold in the content creation into what they do every day? Is it just hitting record on their phone and just starting to document all these videos, or is it carving out time to research how to create the hooks and using ChatGPT? Like, how would you recommend the everyday agent starts to build this into their routine so that they can slowly build up a presence as a local media company, if you will?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. First, I would write yourself a little prescription as to how often you want to post. So I did this on the Broke Agent in 2020, and it helped grow my audience tremendously by saying I'm doing 3 feed posts per day. And this is, again, pandemic, when I didn't have BAM yet, so it sounds psychotic to be doing this much. But it was 3 feed posts per day, and it was honestly like 8 to 15 Instagram stories every day. This is when I wasn't even trying to get like great engagement on the Instagram story. It was just, I wanted to be a media company in the sense that anytime someone went on Instagram, there was a new Broke Agent piece there. And I also was competing with actually agents at that same time. So there was a little bit of a rivalry thing going on there. Our good mutual friend, Luca.
Yeah.
Who's crushing it in the NFT world and his escape the Matrix. So congratulations to him.
He pulled his escape hatch and was like,
exactly.
Here I go.
He's like, smart move by him. Otherwise he would still be talking about content like me. So good for him. So writing yourself an actual plan will at least help you go in that direction. And I think all you really have to do for an agent is 3 to 5 feed posts per week. Meta kind of recommends that. Maybe it's 1 email newsletter and 1 YouTube video every single week. That's a very doable formula that isn't this Gary V flood content, post 15 times per day on every platform, because quality matters way more than quantity now. I mean, kind of quantity of quality for sure. Like the more you post quality content, the better. The more you post, the more reach you're going to get. But it's not about just getting up a bunch of content hoping people are going to see it, because these AI algorithms work in the way now where they're only showing your content to someone who's interested in that content. So if you follow me and you're not interested in it, you're probably not going to see it. It's not like the old days where you have to build a huge audience and then 20% of that audience is automatically going to see it because of the chronological feed. It's all based off of interest. It's the interest media.
I think it's interesting. And I think a way that I think would be an easy way for people to understand what you just said is we all have a huge amount of people that we know, like in Facebook, and very quickly you can sit back and go like, is that person still alive? Like, they're a friend of mine. I've known them for a long time. I haven't seen them post in a really long time. Like, I hope they're okay. And you look them up, and sure enough, they've been posting every day for the last month, but because you weren't paying attention to it, it's just like, we're not going to show you Courtney anymore.
Exactly. So then also time blocking, which is not my invention at all. And I don't really do this, so I'm just projecting here, but I have done this. But you know, choosing a time once every 2 weeks, once a month, and actually scheduling when you're going to film these videos is really helpful for agents. Bulk recording is an easy hack that you could do, or you hire a videographer, or you just do it with your own phone. All you need is a phone and a mic or a camera, and you write out these 5 or 6 scripts. You film them right there. You take a couple hours. You have a couple outfit changes, so that way it doesn't look like they're all filmed on the same day. And then now you have your content banked out for the next couple weeks. And then another way to do it is just every single day in your calendar, say from 9 to 10, or after you make your calls, you know, pick 11 to 12, whatever. That's when you're actually scrolling content, responding to people, and posting your content, or at least brainstorming. You put it an hour into your calendar every day and say, this is my social media time. And that social media time could be dedicated to scrolling for an hour, because that scrolling is going to give you a ton of ideas. Because otherwise, if you're just posting in a vacuum and saying, all right, I have an hour to post something, I need to come up with something, I need to conjure this amazing video and film it right now in a green screen and find a news article. It's like, no, I get so much of my content from scrolling and seeing what other people are posting and thinking, how can I twist that into real estate, whether it's the Broke Agent or BAM. And a perfect example is that is, you know, Massive Agent, Dustin Brahm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fellow podcaster in the BAM network. Great guy. He posted a video recently that said agents should not have their logos in their content, which I completely agree on. And I talk about this in BAMX all the time. If you are posting something, you have a logo at the beginning or at the end, kind of like an end card or an intro slide, you're completely cutting off the engagement because you're ruining the hook of the video, or you're ruining the replayability or the call to action at the end. So I saw his video, reached out to him and said, hey, can I turn this into a blog post? Because I want to elaborate further on this. And then also I could mention that we have, BAMX templates about where you could put your logo. So it's kind of like a duo combination. But the only reason I am saying this is because I was scrolling on Instagram, and that gave me a blog idea, which then becomes a YouTube title, which then becomes an email subject.
Yeah. It's a good point. We had just had Pat Hyben on the podcast, and he's like, why go create something brand new when you can just go copy what other people have and tweak it and make it your own? He's like, my entire real estate career was built on just copying what other people were already doing well and then making it my own. And that's such a good point, particularly when it comes to like content, because the amount of content that's put out there now, and it's only going to accelerate as AI accelerates, is it's unmanageable to even consume everything that's there. So there's something there that works. And if you're seeing it, it probably does work because that's how the algorithm works.
Here's another example of that. Jill Biggs, who is an agent out in Jersey, huge.
I used to be in her market area.
Yeah, she's great. She's hilarious too. So she posted an Instagram of a billboard that said, last year we sold 526 homes. Your cousins sold 2. Hilarious billboard. So I saw that. It started taking off on our page. All I did on BAM was I put Jersey real estate agent puts up best billboard of 2025 with the billboard in the background. So it's her billboard, but like a news article headline. And this post has 37,000 likes and 25,000 shares. And she's picked up hundreds, if not thousands of followers at this point from it. So it's great for her and great for us. But this was a piece of content that I saw just because I was scrolling, and I said, we're a media company. Let's draw attention to this. This is brilliant. We don't even have to do an article about it. Like, let people just consume it on Instagram. This thing took 10 seconds to make, and it's already reached 2 million people. And we've picked up 400 followers from it on the BAM account. So
drawing the line right to hyperlocal, find the companies that are doing amazing content 100%. Already, and then just highlight that and then partner with them.
Yeah, like this coffee shop has the best marketing campaign I've ever seen, and then it swipes and it's a video of that coffee shop, and you could collab with that local business. You're shouting them out. It's a brilliant strategy.
Have you guys seen like those billboards, the Ford and Chevy dealerships that battle it out, like those billboards where it's like one after the other? That's straight down the street for me. Like you take that, like these guys got great content going out on the billboard games. You can go and highlight that, or the people who have the boards in front that have the funny sayings, right? Go and be like, that's right here. You can share that and build on that to attract your audience in, which I think is huge.
Definitely.
Well, so Eric, you mentioned the things that BAM is doing and everything. And so why don't we take a minute or two, like what you're doing to kind of change the landscape for the agent experience in the media world? Because in terms of resources that agents have out there to learn about what's going on, you and Byron in particular have been fantastic about breaking news now ahead of anybody else in the real estate world and giving great context and a platform for these key players, these CEOs to come in and talk about it. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing there and why you're doing and how you're seeing that transform the agent experience and how they operate in their businesses because of it.
Yeah, we wanted to create a content company, a media that we would want to consume as active real estate agents, Byron being one, running the #1 team in Connecticut. But I always, as a real estate agent, I felt so fractured in terms of where I was consuming content. If I was going on Inman News, it's behind a paywall. If I'm going on Housing Wire, it's behind a paywall. If I'm getting on Real Deal, I'm getting a bunch of kind of celebrity slop on top of real estate news and gossip, and each their own in terms of what media you want to consume. But I wanted something that really sifted through the bullshit of the industry and gave me 3 or 4 articles per day on stuff that's not only the news that I should know about that day, but also the agent strategy that I should take away from being taught by people that are actual practitioners in the business, not journalists or people kind of pontificating about what you should do, but real people. So we've built this network of 20, 30 creators, writers that are all just writing articles or doing podcasts with us that actually are doing what they're talking about. Here's how I got 5 listings from one YouTube video, or Tom Toole talking about objection handling or the scripts that he's using on a particular week. Like, these are real people doing this actual business. So that is what we wanted with the media company. We wanted that behind no paywall because we want information that is accessible, because information is accessible. It's free. You could get so much on YouTube right now or going to any website or Twitter that we understand that it shouldn't probably be behind a paywall when you could just get that article for free. And then we have our events and then our community where we're basically following that same principle. We're almost paying you to be in the community because you get access to Zoodelio and Mosaic, which are really expensive platforms, on top of giving agents content to post and giving them the consulting on top of that, which actually provides the training. Instead of saying, hey, here's a bunch of templates, just post them. It's, hey, here's the templates, here's the strategy, here's the courses, here's the consulting on top of that. So that's our community. We have our media company with podcasts, influencers. It's too much to say in one 2-minute diatribe, honestly. So I'll leave it there and then answer anything else on it.
Well, I think it's done amazing wonders. I mean, I consume the content. Sometimes I use the content for my own content because you guys have the best headlines and the best detail about these things. And so I want to say kudos to you for that, because if you guys haven't gone to nowbam.com to just look at what's going on, they do have news there, real news about what's going on, real context behind, the battles and the lawsuits and everything, with quotes from CEOs and stuff, versus just hey, here's what we think is going on, or an article that's kind of just recycling the other person's article, right? And so I think you guys are doing a great job with that.
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing that to the industry. So, well then, Eric, I mean, I appreciate your time, man, today. This has been really good, going in a little roundabout way here. Where would people go to find you? Is nowbam.com the best place for people to go? And how do they find BAMX then from there?
Yeah, nowbam.com. You could click subscribe there. You can start a free trial for 7 days, but really just consume our content. Go on the NowBam YouTube channel. We have the Real Word podcast, the walkthrough show. If you're into real estate marketing, which we talked about mostly here, I host a show every week with Jason Cassidy. We have one or two guests on every single week where we break down exactly what's happening that week in marketing. Or you could watch our most recent episode where we had a deep dive with Shannon Manjan on how to create hyperlocal YouTube that is converting, who I mentioned earlier today. We just had on the brand strategist of Serhant, Kat Torrey. They talked about the importance of storytelling, which is just an amazing high-level conversation. It wasn't just, here's 5 tactics. It was, here's really how to incorporate storytelling and your personality in your content, as opposed to just being like a real estate robot publishing stuff out there. So you could find us so many different ways. It's like you could listen to the podcast, you could consume the blogs, you could just go on Instagram and get kind of the bite-sized version of this, or you could follow our influencer network as well and kind of see how they're interacting with the content. So hope to see you on something. And then we got BAM Camp, September 24th in Arizona, in Scottsdale. So if you want to get tickets for that, that's bamcamp.live, I want to say.
That's awesome. That's going to be great. Great event. Yeah. I've been to some BAM events. They're wonderful. You guys get incredible speakers. The engagement that you get to have, the opportunity to just talk to other agents and everything is just really high quality. And so a big fan of that for sure.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully that storm subsides.
Yeah.
Sounds crazy.
I almost lost all my stuff for a minute. We did have a power glitch and I was like, I was
hearing something in the background and I was going like, what is going on in Matt's environment over there for you to go all of a sudden we're getting hit with a big storm? I was like, what? It was thunder is what I was hearing. Well, Eric, I want to say thanks to you, man. It was great having you on again. Hopefully it was just as enjoyable as it was the first time.
Slightly less enjoyable even more enjoyable this time than the last time.
We can't all be singers. But with that being said, I appreciate your insight into the social media world and just media content world. And I mean, obviously you've been doing this for a long time, and I know we'll probably have you back on again at some point here to kind of look at what are the new trends and what's going on out there. But thanks, man. Thanks for everything you bring, everything you're doing for the industry. And it's awesome. Awesome to watch what you guys are building.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
For sure.
As people are wrapping this up right now, if you want to learn more about what we've got going on over here at Life at 10 Tenths, come check us out. You can go grab our app. You can get into our world. We have an amazing group that's building out right now, and we'd love to have you in there. So if you want to know more, reach out to Matt, reach out to myself, and we'd love to talk to you soon. So Eric, thank you. Matt, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. See you on the next one.